Alberta is breaking free. But here's the kicker. Saskatchewan, Manitoba, even rural BC, they're waiting in line to follow. And don't forget Quebec.
Alberta has been victim of the unwritten policy of the East. Screw the West. We'll take the rest.
Alberta just officially announced that becoming the 51st state isn't some late-night conspiracy theory anymore. It's a full-on political reality check. The same folks who laughed it off last year are now sweating bullets as legal teams start prepping like it's an Olympic sport. And let's be honest, Danielle Smith didn't just hint at it. She brought receipts, legal backup, and the confidence of someone who already ordered this flag.
Alberta is Canada's Texas. Rich in oil and gas, fiercely independent, and constantly at war with Ottawa over energy policy.
You might have believed until now that Alberta was just posturing, threatening separation out of frustration. But this time, it's different. Alberta isn't just talking anymore. They've officially unveiled a detailed, legal plan to separate from Canada, and the message is clear. They're serious about becoming the 51st state. For the first time in Canadian history, a province has laid out a complete roadmap to leave the Confederation, with timelines, legal steps, and even a draft referendum question already on the table.
This is the West breaking off, and Ottawa knows once the dam breaks, there's no patching it back together.
It all came crashing down at a press conference in Edmonton. There were no vague promises or symbolic gestures, just a bold declaration. Alberta is beginning its formal exit from Canada. The announcement hit the country like a thunderclap. Ottawa rushed to condemn it as reckless and unconstitutional. But what stood out wasn't the reaction, it was the confidence. Alberta didn't phrase this as maybe. They made it clear, this isn't a question of if, but when.
Canada started to collapse before our very eyes. Alberta has just taken the first official step to break from Canada, and the shockwaves, they're already rattling Ottawa, Wall Street, and yes.
So what finally pushed Alberta to flip the switch and start walking away? The answer isn't just politics, it's survival. For years, Alberta has been treated more like a punching bag than a partner by the federal government. This isn't just about cultural clashes or ideological differences. It's about being economically drained, politically ignored, and punished for being productive.
What about Quebec? Like, Quebec is literally anti-pipeline to the maximum. Like, they hate the idea of a pipeline going through. So there are some obstacles. And right now it's a lot of talk.
Alberta is the economic engine of Canada, producing more oil and gas than any other province. And yet, instead of being supported, it's been burdened. Pipeline projects have been cancelled or delayed. Carbon taxes have slashed into key industries. Federal emissions caps and energy mandates have choked off investment and growth. The very sectors that fund the country are the ones facing the most restrictions.
Alberta isn't just another Canadian province. It is an economic superpower hiding in plain sight. With a GDP of $336 billion, Alberta single-handedly generates nearly 14% of Canada's entire economic output, even though it's only 11% of its population.
And while Alberta's economy gets hit again and again, it's still forced to send billions in equalization payments to other provinces. Money leaves the province, but help never returns. Instead, Alberta is met with lectures on climate goals, green energy dreams, and urban policy plans that have nothing to do with its reality. For many Albertans, this imbalance has gone from frustrating to unacceptable. Over the years, that resentment has only deepened. Workers in the oil sands, small business owners, farmers, and even municipal leaders have echoed the same sentiment. Ottawa doesn't get us. And honestly, it shows. The policies coming out of the capital often feel like they were designed against Alberta. Take the EV mandates, for example. While Ottawa pushes to put 200,000 electric vehicles on the road, Alberta is asking, who's buying them? Where's the infrastructure? Why are we being penalized for not fitting into a one-size-fits-all national fantasy?
Here's where it gets absolutely infuriating for Albertans. From 2007 to 2022, Alberta sent nearly $250 billion more to Ottawa than it received back in federal spending.
Premier Danielle Smith and her cabinet didn't arrive at this decision overnight, but over the past year, the shift in tone has been undeniable. Her top ministers have publicly accused the federal government of deliberately undermining Alberta's economy. They're not asking for cooperation anymore. They're planning for exit. According to them, the carbon tax, emissions caps, and energy roadblocks are non-negotiable issues, and if Ottawa refuses to back down, then Alberta will back out.
Alberta isn't just another Canadian province. It is an economic superpower hiding in plain sight. With a GDP of $336 billion, Alberta single-handedly generates nearly 14% of Canada's entire economic output, even though it's only 11% of its population.
The most powerful part of Alberta's new strategy is its structure. This isn't some grassroots protest demanding vague freedom. It's a carefully mapped legal challenge to the very foundation of Canada's Confederation. The province has already begun laying the groundwork for a referendum, with insiders suggesting a public vote could happen within 18 months. If passed, it would spark a constitutional crisis, forcing a full national reckoning over borders, debts, citizenship, and trade. And Alberta isn't just hoping public support is behind them, they've got the numbers. A recent Angus Reid poll from May 2025 revealed that 37% of Albertans are now in favor of leaving Canada altogether. Among voters of the United Conservative Party, that number skyrockets to 65%. That's not a fringe movement anymore. That's a full-blown political shift. Alberta isn't whispering about independence in back rooms. They're drafting plans in government offices, with serious support from elected officials, industry leaders, and even legal experts. Now, you'd think there'd be a legal wall blocking Alberta from pulling something this bold, but there isn't. The only thing standing between Alberta and full separation is paperwork, a vote, and a whole lot of political fallout. Canada's Clarity Act, passed in 2000, was supposed to be the safeguard against provincial breakups, and while it's firm about one thing, it explicitly says no province can unilaterally declare independence, it also opens a backdoor, a very real one. That backdoor is a referendum with a clear majority. If Alberta holds a public vote and the people back separation, Ottawa is legally obligated to negotiate, not ignore it, not stall it, negotiate. And according to current government officials, Alberta is already preparing for that vote. Sources inside the Alberta legislature confirm that the timeline being discussed would have the referendum held within 18 months, meaning before the end of 2026. It wouldn't be the first time Canada faced this scenario. Quebec walked the same legal tightrope twice. The referendums in 1980 and 1995 forced the federal government to acknowledge that popular will can't be sidelined, even if the results fall short of full separation. The key detail? Quebec's last referendum in 1995 missed passing by just 1.16%. That narrow margin changed everything. It led to the creation of the Clarity Act itself, which outlined that future referendums must have a clear question and a clear majority to trigger negotiations. Alberta's draft question hasn't been published yet, but insiders confirm it's being modeled closely on Quebec's 1995 version. The idea is to minimize legal wrangling and avoid federal excuses to throw it out on a technicality. If the vote clears the threshold, Canada's constitutional framework forces Ottawa to the table, whether they like it or not. The consequences of that are enormous. Legal experts, including constitutional scholar Benoit Pelletier, have warned that a clear majority vote from any province would plunge Canada into a full-blown constitutional crisis. And Alberta's version wouldn't just ask for symbolic recognition. It would demand negotiations over currency, citizenship, pensions, national debt allocation, and even border control. Each of these categories would have to be legally untangled between federal and provincial systems, something Canada has never done before. What makes it all more serious is that Alberta isn't bluffing with no backup. There's real voter energy behind this. The most recent Angus Reid poll from May 2025 laid it bare. 37% of Albertans now support full separation from Canada. That's not a fringe minority. That's more than 1 in 3 citizens. And the deeper you dig into the numbers, the more telling it gets. Among voters for the United Conservative Party, UCP, which currently holds power under Premier Danielle Smith, support for separation spikes to a staggering 65%. That's nearly 2/3 of the party's base saying not just that they're angry, but that they want out. That level of support isn't just ideological, it's electoral. It tells UCP lawmakers they now have political cover to push this even further. And it's not just sitting in poll graphs. The sentiment has spilled onto the streets. In June and July 2025, two major protest waves erupted in Calgary and Edmonton. Crowds chanted slogans demanding full autonomy and an immediate referendum date. Placards reading "We fund, they waste" and "Confederation is a scam" filled the downtown corridors. These weren't sparsely attended rallies organized by obscure fringe groups. They were organized by regional business leaders, ex-MLAs, and advocacy networks like Fairness Alberta. The atmosphere has shifted. There was a time when most Albertans just wanted policy reform, maybe tweaks to equalization, better pipeline access, or some control over immigration. But the tone has changed. The newer sentiment isn't about fixing the system, it's about leaving it all together.